Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Asian convenience store owner Rick Chow, who murdered Cyrus Carmack Belton by chasing him over 130 yards and then shooting him in the back when this child was unarmed and had not done anything to this man, has been acquitted by a white jury in South Carolina. In the case of Cyrus Belton, Chow wrongly accused the child of shoplifting. That, of course, wasn't the case at all. No one was stealing anything. Chow or his son had accused this black teenager without any evidence of stealing, and when Belton left the store, Chow's son chased after him, then joined by the elder Chow, who had a gun. He chased the teenager more than 130 yards from the store. Now, there is no universe in which that can be called self-defense, especially when you consider that he shot this child in the back and the child did not have a weapon. But of course, this wasn't the first time that this criminal has done something like this. In fact, the murderer Chow has a long history of gun crimes. On May 4th, 2015, Chow confronted a woman who he accused of taking merchandise without paying. When the woman got into her vehicle to leave, Chow pulled out a .45 caliber pistol and fired 6 shots into the vehicle. Chow also shot a shoplifter on October 12, 2018. In that case, the victim was accused of taking a can of oven cleaner and hiding it in his clothes. This led to a confrontation between the two, during which Chow shot the victim in the leg. Now, in both of those incidents, neither of the victims was armed either. And in the case of Cyrus Belton, they couldn't even accuse that child of having shoplifted anything. Now, as for those prior 2 gun crimes that Chow committed, officials in Richland County said that those incidents were cases of self-defense. Yes, because when you pull a gun on somebody who leaves your store and start firing shots into the vehicle, that's self-defense. What was he defending? Nothing. So they allowed this violent thug to escalate his crimes. This happened because the local authorities were on code to allow a criminal to commit gun crime after gun crime. Right now, you got clowns losing their minds over Carmelo Anthony, who actually did defend himself legitimately. And in this case, on the other hand, they're either quiet or they're applauding this outcome. This is a race war against black citizens. The authorities never recognize black people's right to self-defense, no matter how blatant the threat is against them. Remember John White, the black father who protected his family when a white teenage gang came to his home after they had assaulted his son at a so-called party? Mr. White defended his family from the leader of that gang, but he was the one who was charged and convicted, even though what he did was within the letter and the spirit of the law. And that in New York State, by the way, which I'm told is so liberal, at least by white right-wingers. And you'll also recall the case of Corey Pujols, the Florida man who defended himself and his co-workers against a racist, violent white man who barged into the Dunkin' Donuts the Pujols worked at, threatening him, spewing racial slurs at him. Being threatened by this racist, violent thug, Mr. Pujols took action to protect himself, resulting in the death of this violent white racist. The white media didn't care that the white man who was killed was a convicted child rapist. This is a guy who had violated children sexually, and the authorities in Florida, they allowed him to remain on the loose afterwards. But instead of praising Corey Pujols for protecting himself, his co-workers, and the children of Florida from this violent, racist child rapist, instead, the white authorities out there falsely charged him with murder, and the only reason that they weren't able to convict him was because the racist who threatened him was a convicted child rapist, and even the prosecutor had to admit that they wouldn't be able to make a sympathetic victim out of him. This is what the white authorities consistently do whenever there are black people who have to carry out acts of legitimate self-defense. These racist police and prosecutors have an open policy of selectively going after black people if black people have to defend themselves, but they will allow non-black people to murder black people with impunity if they just falsely claim self-defense afterwards. This is their means of trying to nullify a legal right to self-defense. Selective prosecution of it. This hate crime against Cyrus Belton happened in South Carolina. As you know, that's Jim Clyburn's congressional district, and it's also where Eugene Daniels, former head of the White House Correspondents Association and current talking head on MS Now, is also from. So, what has the only Democrat from South Carolina and the pretentious peacock from wherever said about this crime? Well, Eugene Daniels has said nothing about it, and as for America's favorite sharecropper, Clyburn was on Twitter crowing about how successful his annual fish fry went. He hadn't said one piddling word about the fact that a reprehensible hate crime was committed in his state, a black child murdered for no reason whatsoever, and the filthy murderer allowed to get away with it. As black people, we are being targeted, and these acts of anti-black violence and murder are not just committed by white supremacists, they're also carried out by other groups as well. Groups who the NAACP tells us that we need to ally ourselves with, and that we have some sort of camaraderie with them. If you refuse to call out the fact that black people are targeted by these so-called people of color groups, then you're as complicit in these murders as trash like this Chow character. This latest atrocity is why we require an anti-black hate crime law, specifically for black Americans. And it's also why we are well within our rights to reject any talk about black fill-in-the-blank alliances and to cast out anyone who comes to us talking that trash. This Chow scumbag is a criminal immigrant, no different than the other reprobates who the Orange Man has rounded up. Some people, especially the younger or the less media conscious among you, will say, well, this happened in a red state in the South. What do you expect? Of course they would do that. Well, need I remind you that the first major case where a black teenager was murdered by an Asian person for allegedly shoplifting was Latasha Harlins in 1991. She was murdered by a Korean convenience store owner, and even though a jury convicted the murderer for this crime, the judge decided to override the jury in a blatant act of juris nullification and give the murderer just probation and a $500 fine. That for murdering a 15-year-old child in cold blood. And where did this heinous act of anti-black racism take place? Not in Florida, not in South Carolina, not in Texas, not in Louisiana, but in Los Angeles, a Democratic city in the allegedly most liberal state in America. So it doesn't matter if it's a red state or a blue state. It doesn't matter if it's anti-black racism from Asians or white people. We see these police and prosecutors getting on code to protect anyone who kills a black person and to prosecute any black person who dares to protect themselves. The law was indisputably on John White's side, but the white authorities ignored that. The law was indisputably against Chow, his son, and that Korean woman who murdered Latasha Harlins, but the white authorities also ignored that. Black people better understand that these anti-black racists of every stripe, pattern, and spot deliberately and intentionally target black children. Black people better take self-defense and defense of their neighborhoods against perpetrators of anti-black violence seriously. You see, what the white authorities want is they want you to be intimidated from protecting yourself. Too many
This case is not about a dollar. This case is not about a shoplifter. This case is about a father who sees a gun pointed at his son and had to make a decision.
Oh my goodness. So let me just say that Trump's economy is so bad right now that even the value of black youth has gone down. It went from $1.75 with Latisha Harlins to now $1 with Cyrus. Damn. All jokes aside, and there's nothing really you can do except laugh through the pain at this point. I loosely followed this case because I figured it was a, open and shut case. This guy's guilty, right? He popped off and he took the life of a 14-year-old, shot him in the back. Dunzo. Don't have to worry about anything. Now, upon looking deeper into the case, I now see why we got the conclusion that we got. Because what you have to understand, I know many people are, screaming and shouting, oh man, black kid, 14-year-old, over $1 water bottle. Oh my God, I can't believe that. That's not what the case is about. It just is what it is. That's not what the case is about. What the case is about, right? First off, he was charged with murder. That means, hey, you had an intent, I think malice and afterthought, right? Intent to yeet this little 14-year-old boy. That's what that's what the state has to prove. And that's not really a strong position to have in a scenario like this, because what is claimed is that the reason why he shot, Cyrus was to defend his son, right? He thought his son's life was in danger.
Maybe the light's on the fire. And then as he's running, when he falls, that's when it comes off. We don't know. Because the burden of proof is on the state to prove what happened in that situation. And they've just admitted the one thing we know for a fact is he picked up the firearm. That's from them, not from me. That was their admission. And then as he picks up the firearm, then we have to go with Andy's testimony. And he's right. If you don't believe what Andy says, if you think Andy is 100% a liar, you can stop right now. Andy's lying. He made it up. This is completely not true. The gun was never pointed at him. He never saw this silver barrel that he only would have seen after he saw Discovery. He never saw it. And then let's take that one step further. Not only that you must believe that he is a liar, you must believe that Rick Chow is the most creative, smartest person in the history of the world. He is clairvoyant, if you will. Let's give him an Oscar. Rick Chow was able to decide, you know what, I'm going to kill this boy. I need to figure out when he's going to come into the store, when he's going to have a gun, when it's going to be in his pouch. I need to make sure that Andy sees it. And then I need to make sure Andy follows him for the directions. So I need to make sure Andy calls 911 and says exactly what I want him to say. I need to make sure Andy says the exact thing that I'm going to say at the exact time. Because that's what it would be necessary to believe the state of South Carolina's case to.
Is that Cyrus, a 14-year-old black kid, he didn't steal anything. That's first and foremost. People are saying, oh, don't steal. He didn't steal anything. He had no money on him. He had a gun on him. He did have a gun. Those are the facts of what I've come about, all right? He did have a gun on him. Now, when it comes down to whether or not he pointed and aimed, they have witnesses who said he didn't, right? They didn't see any, gun aimed or a gun from Cyrus. They didn't see that. At the end of the day, it boiled down to, his son's testimony. His son said, hey, they were chasing him because they thought he had stolen a water bottle. Cyrus went like this, and it was something heavy. And little did they know that it was a gun, not a water bottle. Okay, so that's why they went off chasing. Now you can say they shouldn't have chased. And this is actually, if you watch the defense closing statement, I was like, okay, now I see why he walked away. I see why he walked away. Because he really breaks it down. And it's kind of bittersweet because the defense attorney it's a black guy. It's just like, ooh, this is rough.
Now let's talk about the part of the case that we're all wondering about, the thing that everybody's there, and if it's in your gut, it should be in everybody's gut. And they spent their entire case. Their case was a day and a half, and most of it they spent it on one part. The chase. The chase. The chase. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. You remember one of the witnesses, the investigator, got on the stand, and I had to ask him the question, is there anything illegal about that? No, sir. But that's what they're talking about. Well, common sense. We don't want you to do it. But it's not illegal. That's an important distinction to know. This is a store. The testimony was they've owned it for 11 years. Margins are small. You've seen the wall of shame. People have shoplifted. People have stolen. Chased them. I've been stolen from. I chased the people to Georgia, flat out. It's their property. They're emotional about it. And that's why he ran after it. The question isn't, do you think it's right? The question is it legal? And then you go to the second part of it's illegal. If it was illegal, don't you remember Andy Chow sat up there on the stand? And Mr. Scott got right in his face, and he was yelling at him, and he was going angry with him, and he was saying everything to him. But the one thing he didn't say to him is, and you have been charged with following this young man out of the store. And you are criminally liable for following this young man out of the store. Because he's not.
But that's how he breaks it down. He's like, hey, if you really thought that he wanted to get this little 14-year-old kid, why did he shoot as soon as he left the store? Why did he shoot, 5 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 100 yards? Why did he wait until 130 yards to then shoot, a little 14-year-old Cyrus?
And if we take this one step further from the state's theory, Rick Chow was so pissed off, so damn angry about this shoplifter, hates him so much that he executes him. Why not shoot him when he gets out of the store? Gun's already on his hip. Why not walk out of the store? Shoplifter, $1, he stole, shot. Shoplifter, 10 yards, shot. Shoplifter, 20 yards, shot. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Why wait 130? Unless something changed. What changed was somebody pulling a gun and pointing it directly at his son. That's what changed.
That's a good point, fair point there. But at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with the water bottle. Had nothing to do with, you shouldn't be discriminating against black. Had nothing to do with that. What it had to do with is that beyond a reasonable doubt, do you believe that, this, Chow popped off at this kid, just simply to yeet him? That's it. Do you not believe that he was doing this because he thought his son's life was in danger? That's the end of the story. That's what the prosecution had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, the facts of the matter, the facts didn't really, it's hard to say that for 100% certainty, that's what the facts laid out, because they didn't. There's a lot of gray area there. Even with the witnesses, we already know as witness testimony how it goes about, it can be shaky. So it really, how I saw it, had to do with the credibility of his son. So the jury happened to believe that, hey, was there an ounce of doubt that the fact that Cyrus had a gun on him, that was there a possibility, right, beyond reasonable doubt,
So there's a dark cloud over my hometown city of Columbia, South Carolina right now. Last night, Rick Chow was found not guilty of the murder of 14-year-old Cyrus Belton that happened back in 2023. Now, you don't know what happened. Let me give you a quick synopsis of the situation. Back in 2023, Cyrus Belton, a black teenager, went inside a gas station that I frequently went to. I wasn't a everyday customer, but whenever I went on that side of town, I would go into that store to get gas or something that I needed. Anyway, though, upon going into the store, the owners immediately tell him to put his bag in front of the door.
Put down your backpack. Backpack needs to put on the ice cream chest. Yep.
And what you got to notice about this story is that they often profiled a lot of black people, even though they're in the smack middle of the hood. Why do y'all purposely come to our neighborhood, sell us poison, do this and that, and also profile us? Like, why not just go set up a store around the people y'all want to be around, and white folks, okay? Anyway, right, you know, this is a pattern we see with all of these non-black people. They come into our neighborhoods, make all this money off of us, and then still treat us like shit. Anyway, though, right, he go into this store, he puts his bag down, and while he's walking through the store, the owners are watching him. I mean, it literally It reminds you of the scene from Menace to Society. Y'all know the lady that was following Old Dog. This is the exact same thing that happened, right? They're following him. He then opens up the freezer, grabs 4 water bottles. He then puts the 4 water bottles back. He walks to the front of the store, grabs his bag, and as he do so, you see a little commotion.
You have one in your pocket? You have one in your pocket? One foot in your pocket.
Yeah. I don't got no water in my pocket. I don't got no water in my pocket, bro. I'll show you water.
They assume he stole a water bottle. A water bottle, right? And to be fair, no one should steal. And as an owner, I wouldn't want people stealing out of my store as well. But the thing about this is like, Chow is at the register attending to a customer. And he sees Cyrus, who supposedly stole a water bottle. So Cyrus leaves and the owner comes all the way from the back with his son, run out of the store for $1 water bottle. He didn't steal it, by the way, okay? Now, they didn't chase him, I believe, over 100 yards out. Keep in mind, Cyrus is a 14-year-old boy. So I can imagine the fear that's going on through his mind. Me, personally, I wouldn't have ran. I would have been like, bro, just look, I didn't steal nothing. Leave me the fuck alone, you know? But he didn't do that. So he runs away. And this is how scared he is, y'all. He runs out of his shoes. He drops his phone. And basically what ends up happening is Cyrus Belton is shot in the back. I believe Rick Chow stated that he was in fear for his son's life. At the scene, a gun was found. But so what? If Cyrus was really going to, harm them, he would have just shot them then and there. And what you got to realize is that in that area, y'all know how I feel about street life. I don't condone any of it, but I understand. That area is a bad area. So he had a gun on him for protection. And what you notice is that all of these non-black people, they are so cool with everybody expressing their American rights, having a gun, the Second Amendment right, until it's a black person. But anyway, they found the gun on the scene. And supposedly Rick Chow was like, he was about to shoot my son, so I had to kill him, yada, yada. Rick Chow states that Cyrus was pointing the gun. But pretty much every other eyewitness says that Cyrus didn't have anything in his hands. And yesterday, y'all, Rick Chow was found not guilty. This shit broke my heart, dog. Me and my wife was listening to it in the car. We was in the car with our 3 kids, and we was on the way to get something for them, and she was playing the case, and I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, bro, they gonna find him guilty of something. I was like, man, it's 2026. I'm just trying to think positive. I'm like, yeah, man, ain't no way he gonna get away with this shit. Boom, not guilty, nigga. My heart dropped. I'm like, what? Bro, it just reminded me of Trayvon Martin back when in 2012, and I didn't even understand that at the time like that. I was like 10 or 11 years old. I just remember Trayvon Martin, he was walking and got killed. I didn't really understand. But now to see in 2026 another situation like this happening, dog, it's like, what is going on, man? I damn near shed a tear last night just thinking about it, and just how frustrated, bro. But to be fair again, it's really the prosecution's fault, right? In South Carolina, there is no first or second degree murder. It's just murder. Premeditated murder, right? So basically, the prosecution set it up that it was premeditated murder from Rick Chow. That was what he was being charged for, not manslaughter, not second, yada, yada. So instead of them going for a lesser charge, like manslaughter, if it was manslaughter, he most definitely probably would have been found guilty. They didn't set up any other lesser charge. And I guess it was hard to prove that this was premeditated by Rick Chow, even though he had other instances of profiling people, the jury. They didn't decide that. Yeah, man, it's just an all around sad situation, bro. And it's just been eating at me. And in my city, man, I've been going on Facebook. I'm seeing everybody mad. Everybody out in the streets right now. They at the gas station. Apparently they sold it, but they kind of still own it. So a lot of people are up there right now trying to get that shit shut back down. And I just tell everybody, like, man, all of that ain't really gonna do nothing. All that protesting in the streets and doing all this yada yada hoopery, it ain't gonna do shit. What we really got to start doing is standing on business. Stop shopping at these stores. Stop going to the nail salon. Stop going to the Chinese food spot. Stop going to the fucking Try to just go to mostly black owned businesses. And I know it's hard. That's the thing. It's hard as fuck because we rarely own shit. Stop going to these hair stores. We really got to make a stand and just show these folks that we not to be fucked with. What needs to be done is, we make a stand and we have more solidarity as a black community. Support each other, have each other backs more. And what happened to Cyrus is something that happened to a young lady by the name of Latasha. I'm not sure her last name, but I think it was in California, and a lady killed her. You know what I'm saying? It's like, shit, bro, we see this shit, it repeats. That's why I talk about the past all the time. Be like, oh my God, bro, you're such a victim. Shit repeat, bro. Shit repeat, man. And just even the amount of even on the Asian community, bro, I don't know what the fuck y'all been on, man. All this with Japanese Twitter, with Chinese Natasha dolls, with the Chinese going over and harassing the black kids, like, it has been so much shit going on within the Asian community on.
Show you. This is crossing the line in every sense of the word. There is a black doll in China that is being marketed to people as a stress relief doll. And that doll is being handled and used in the most unthinkable, unimaginable way. And you will be disturbed after watching some of the things that I had to watch. It's disheartening, but we'll talk about it, why and what exactly they're doing with this doll. But in China, as we speak, there is a trend that involves a black doll that they are marketing as a stress relief doll. It's a dark skinned doll with black features, and it's called Natasha. And the Chinese are creating videos mishandling this doll on Red Note. It's the alternative, like their TikTok. It's called Red Note. And now, after a few days of it being viral on that side of the world, it has come to our TikTok, the one we know, the one the rest of the world uses aside from, the Chinese people, because some people brought it on this side. So we know what's going on that other side of the world. And it's just so provoking. And even when some Chinese people were standing against what was happening on their own social media, and the amount of backlash they receive, you would think that
それがナターシャアフリカベビーのスクイーズ人形中国版 TikTok では洋服を着せたりメイクをしたりまるで本物の赤ちゃんみたいに遊んでる動画が大量に出てきます
I'm muting it because there's music in the background, and this is the doll I'm talking about, called Natasha. Some people, as I said, took it from Red Note. There's more, and I'll also show you some people reacting to this, because they're so shocked. As I said, it's on Red.
Black people. And if we was really the violent group of people that they make us out to be, man, them folks would have been done dealt with. But yeah, dog, it's a very sad moment for my state and my city right now. And if you guys didn't know, Carmelo Anthony is about to go on trial soon. Carmelo Anthony is a 17-year-old who had to defend himself against two white boys that came into his tent. He had a little knife on him for protection, and he did what he had to do. He's about to go on trial right now for the murder of that. And man, just seeing how the system did Cyrus, I'm so scared for Carmelo. Right. So I've been, trying to not really get in contact, but I've been supporting him. I think I donated. Y'all should go donate to Carmelo as well and just get him ready, because we see how this system do black boys. There is no grace for us. Our boys are seen as grown adults. And man, I'm just You know, I'm scared. I'm scared for him. I really feel like it, bro. I see Carmelo as like one of my little brothers. I see Cyrus as one of my little brothers, my little cousin. Like I see all of y'all as family, dog. And just for that shit to happen, bro, I damn near like, you know, done broke down, shed a tear and shit, man. Hey, yeah, as we can see, bro, this the gas station right now. Everybody out there mad. And you know, the sad truth is, like I stated, bro, time gonna go on. People gonna forget. You know, life gotta keep going on. Sad thing, bills gonna have to get paid, and everything is gonna go back to normal. That's the frustrating thing about it. You know, we gonna be mad for right now, but this shit gonna go back. Like, just look at Trayvon Martin. I keep, you know, I'm gonna keep comparing this shit to Trayvon Martin because just the whole way that shit went about. You know, he killed Trayvon, cold blood, got off on it, signing Skittle bags, all type of shit, right? People dressing up as Trayvon for Halloween. Niggas still walking around right now. You know? Everybody done forgot about him. And it's gonna happen again, man. Man, I swear to God, dog. Man.
How is it possible to be this evil? A 14-year-old comes in your gas station. You accuse him of stealing 4 water bottles, and before he heads out of the gas station, he flattens out his hoodie pockets and shows you that he doesn't have anything. You and your son chase him down for almost 2 football fields and shoot him in the back. 3 eyewitnesses say that the boy never brandished a gun or showed a gun to anybody. He was running for his fucking life, and you killed him. Even if he did steal, which he didn't, it was $4 worth of product that you killed him over. And South Carolina jury just found you not guilty. Being black in America is like just living in a constant 24-hour nightmare, bro. And nobody believes you. Nobody.
That's the thing, y'all. I'm telling you, bro. They'll be like, oh, you're a victim. Look, I'll say we got niggas in fucking the little basic logic nigga all the way in where? Somewhere in Europe, trying to tell us what we go through in black America. Asian motherfuckers that never dealt with us, telling us what we deal with in America. Like, it's so fucking frustrating, bro.
Believes that it's fucked up for you and that people hate you for no reason. And it's all a joke to them because they don't have to deal with things like this. So it's so far-fetched from the reality that they live in that they just think it's fan fiction. It is, how evil do you have to be to find this man not guilty? One of the most open and closed textbook hate crimes that I've
literally, bro. Man, something gotta be done.
Ever fucking witnessed. Ever. And he's not guilty. He killed a teenager that was running away from him. Expert opinions, eyewitnesses, not guilty. I have no words for this shit, bro.
So the fatal bullet entered the victim, 14-year-old victim, Cyrus Carmack Belton, in the right lower back. Right? Traveled through his body and struck his heart. So you hit him in the back. So how did he manage to point something at you if your shot hit him in the back? That's crazy, right? First of all, you chased him, he didn't steal anything, and then you popped him in the back, and then you call self-defense. Right? Stuff like this is gonna keep happening, bro, until our race of people learn to separate. It is going to keep happening, bro.
That's just the sad truth, bro. I keep telling people it's not about us wanting to be racist and feel like we better than everybody by separating, bro. It seems that nobody will respect us as a people until we do for our own, until we able to establish this by ourselves, establish that by ourselves, with no help from outsiders. We don't need shit from y'all. We can build it up on ourselves. And the sad thing is, like, bro, I feel like if black people would have conquered the world, world and did what Europeans did, we wouldn't be dealing with this right now. They wouldn't be fucking with us. We would have that respect. Now, ultimately, I think this is what, just makes everything look worse. Which I hate this for the black youth, man. We gotta stop glorifying these gangs and shit, bro. But Cyrus, he posted let's just watch it.
Posted a video on his Instagram the night before, carrying what appeared to be the same gun, wearing the same red hoodie. The investigator confirmed it.
So already just showing that, it's paying him out to be a fucking savage, posting this gun like this.
Same outfit, same light on the barrel. On cross-examination, defense walked the investigator through everything Cyrus had with him that day. An empty backpack, with just some papers inside. No money, no wallet, no credit cards, no ability to pay for anything. And a loaded 9mm pistol with a laser attachment. Illegally possessed, and his DNA confirmed on the weapon. But then came the moment the defense couldn't recover from. The prosecution stood back up and asked, when Cyrus walked out of that store on May 28th, 2023, was he walking or running? Walking. Was he combative with the Chows, or was he polite? Very polite. What were Rick Chow and his son doing when they left the store? Hauling ass. Running after him. Screaming. And what did Cyrus do when two grown men came running at him and screaming? He appeared to be scared and took off running. The investigator confirmed what every witness had already said. Cyrus didn't steal anything. He didn't threaten anyone inside that store. He walked out politely, and when grown men ran at him, he ran. He ran out of his shoe. He dropped his backpack. He fell twice. He tried to get up, and he was shot in the back over a football field away from where it started. The defense asked the investigator if he'd ever been in a situation where someone pointed a gun at a loved one in front of him. He said no. Different situation. The defense said. The investigator agreed, because in his situation, he never chased a child down the street and pulled the trigger.
As black people, the best thing I say is to get up on y'all knowledge, stay healthy, and try to support black-owned businesses as much as possible. Solidarity in the black community, that's what we need. I don't think marching is going to do anything. I don't know, man. This shit is just frustrating, bro. This is the black fatigue. This is the real black fatigue, This is really what black fatigue is, but everybody just call us victims. They call us crazy, this and that, y'all. It is just fuck, bro. I don't know if I'm even going to monetize this video. If I monetize it, I probably do just want to give all the money away. So it's probably going to get yellow signed, and I'm just going to drop it anyway. So I'm probably not going to make money off this video. But if I do make any money off this video and on my own, I'm going to donate to the family as much as possible. You guys too. I'm going to put his mother's Facebook page in the description. And like I said, I'll try to find a GoFundMe, man. But yeah, y'all. So there is a dark cloud